Hi guys, I'm Han Min.
I'm Daryl.
Today we'll be doing an analysis on Parktown Residences, which is an upcoming project in Tampines North.
So Parktown Residences will be an integrated development. Comes with retail shops as well as the MRT, which will be underground. So let's dive right straight into it. So for the preview date, right, we are looking at 7 February to 17 February. The launch date will actually be on the 22nd of February.
So Parktown Residences is jointly developed by Capital Land, UOL and Sing Land. So these three are very renowned developers. And as for the number of units, right, we are looking at 1,193 units. So it's considered a very huge project and is estimated to TOP in 2030. Okay, in total, we have 12 blocks ranging from 6 stories to 12 stories.
So some details about Parktown. It comprises about 100 to 120 units, including shops, F&B, supermarket, and commercial school. There's also a hawker center, approximately about 40 stalls, a community club, and of course the MRT and bus interchange.
So Parktown, right, is located at Tampines North. It's actually closer to the Pasir Ris area, and this is a developing area. So being a new township, right, we'll be expecting a lot of transformation that's going to happen, and we're gonna expect a lot of growth potential here as well.
So we go into the site location map. Tampines North MRT is just beside the project itself, and this is set to be completed by 2030, and it will be connected to the project itself via B1 and level 1. And right now, just beside the project is where the Tampines North bus interchange is. Now this will just be an interim, but then eventually it will actually be in the project itself.
So what is actually surrounding the area, right? We are looking at a future school that's gonna be built there. Surrounding, right, is mainly all your residential plots. Right, we have your HDB or maybe a condo also as well. So I mean, in this area, right, we are not really looking at the views also. This project itself, we are mainly purchasing it for the convenience.
Now in terms of nearby malls, within the 2 km radius, we are very close by the Giant Hypermart, IKEA, Tampines Mall, even towards Pasir Ris as well, Pasir Ris Mall, Pasir Ris Hawker Centers as well. But of course, Parktown itself will also have a mall. So likely you will just head down for your groceries and food.
Yeah, and school-wise, right, within 1 km, we have Angsana Primary School as well as Poi Ching Primary School. But for Poi Ching, right, not all the blocks are actually within 1 km. So it's best to check with us on which blocks will be within the 1 km radius.
So moving on, these are just some examples in Singapore which are integrated developments as well. So right now, there are only a total of 9 projects. I think the latest one is Pasir Ris 8, soon to collect keys. Then previously, it was your Sengkang Grand and your Reserve Residences.
Correct. So before we head into the layout analysis, right, the question that most buyers are asking is that, what is the exit strategy for this project? So looking at the surrounding, right, you can see that there's actually a lot of MOP upgraders, right, in the near future. So if we calculate the total number of units, right, it's actually 14,751 in total. So these will be your potential upgraders who will have the capacity and also the capability to actually upgrade and purchase your unit in the future. So over here, we can see that certain projects, right, have already started to reach their MOP.
Correct. Some examples are Costa Ridge, which is at Pasir Ris. Then your Tampines Greenview and Greenleafs also reach MOP already.
So for the most recent Tampines Greenview, as well as your Greenleaf, right, they just reached the MOP. The highest transaction for the 4-room is looking at 810,000. And for the 5-room, we are already looking at 935,000. This slide is basically telling us that the owners over here, right, they definitely have the capacity to actually upgrade to a private condo in future.
I think some of these owners' profit margins about 400. Easily 400,000. Yeah.
So for the developers, right, one of the more renowned one will be Capital Land. Okay, they have a very good track record. I'm sure the audience actually will already have heard of this developer before. Okay, so buyers themselves will actually have more confidence in terms of the mall's relevance and appeal.
Just to point out a little bit more on the Capital Land, that's where you will see a lot more famous shopping, famous shops, famous brands. then it won't be those kind of like so much like tuition centers, this kind of things.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think Capital Land, they really choose carefully who are the shops,
Who will be their tenants?
Yeah,
who they
correct.
bring in.
Alright, then of course we have also UOL and Singland. So these are well known for luxurious projects lah. Your most recent one will be your Mayor Blue project. Then of course Amo Residences and Claremont. These are some of past projects that they have done it.
Because they are the developers, so we definitely can expect a similar kind of prestigious and luxurious finishing for Parktown as well.
So diving into the site map now, Parktown will actually have 12 blocks ranging from 6-story high to 12-story high. There will be a total of 6 swimming pools and 1 tennis court right over here.
Right, so since we are surrounded by residential plot, right, we will think that the most expensive facing will be actually the inward facing towards the pool side. Okay,
Likely
correct. The cheaper one will likely be the outward facing towards the residential plots.
So just to orientate you guys a little bit, this is actually the relevant stories for each of the individual blocks. So this is the distance between each block. This will be the 94 meter, the furthest one away.
Considered very, very far apart.
Correct. So then this will be the one that we are talking about in terms of the premium lah, having most likely. Likewise, this is also 118 meter also. So also quite far apart as well.
So for the pedestrian access, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. Okay, and right smack in the middle, we actually have the Green Boulevard, which is actually just your park.
Yeah, correct. So I think this will help with the congestion lah.
Correct.
Yeah. Also, something to take note is the vehicle access. Now, this is quite important because this is whereby if the developer or the architect did not really put a lot of thoughts into this, then there will be a huge, traffic congestion, these kind of things. So very simple, very straightforward. This is where in future this will be the drop-off point. And likely the bus stop will be there as well also. For commercial and unloading, right, this is where the entrance will be. For the opposite side, that's where the vehicle, your residential entrance will be. And bus interchange, this is where the bus will actually enter for the interchange part.
I think the developer put a lot of thoughts into this to make sure that the residential and in terms of the commercial, they do not mix together.
Correct.
So that we avoid the congestion.
Correct. At least it shows a little bit more exclusivity for the residents maybe.
Yes.
So for the lift access, just to explain a little bit more in depth, all blocks, right, you actually have a residential lift. But for the visitors, right, you only have 2 lifts. So visitors, right, you can actually from level 1 take up to level 2, which is basically the project itself already. And they can also go to basement car park. For the residential units instead, right, it's a little bit different. It will take you to level 1 and basement car park. But right, other than these 3 blocks, right, I'm a resident and I actually take this lift down to level 1. I will actually need to circle back in to enter the shopping mall. So certain projects, they do not directly bring you down to level 1 into the mall. You have to take a separate lift, right, that will get you into the mall. But for this project, very simple, you just go to level 1, then you just have to circle back into the project. Now for these 3 blocks, right, once you reach down to level 1, actually that's where the shopping mall is already.
Super convenient. Basically, from your house, right, you just take to level 1, you already reach the shopping mall.
Now to explain a little bit and orientate you guys a little bit, once you are at first story, so very simple, the north part of the project, right, is actually here. This is where your tennis court is and the MRT entrance, which is on level 1 as well. Then your bus interchange, hawker center is over here and your CC is over here.
Then we also have a bridge, right, that links the existing HDB owners to go to the shopping mall as well. Okay, unique mix, right? Okay, so this development we have a total of from 1 bedder ranging all the way to 5 bedder. Okay, a huge percentage will actually be more focused towards the 1 and 2 bedder.
Yes.
We have a total of about 55.2% lah. So in a way, the developer actually cater more towards the young couple and investors for this kind of unit types. So young couples, right, they actually can consider this project and use it as a stepping stone and also to build their asset class. This project, right, will actually be harmonized as well. So just something for you guys to take note of. So for the 1 bedroom analysis, there's actually in total 4 bedroom types, but we actually will be only going through just one type, the AS1, because the rest of the types, they are all on level 2. Okay, so for type AS1, right, we are looking at 506 square feet. Okay, it has both the inward and outward facing, and we likely predict that the inward facing will actually be the more premium facing as well. Okay, so there's in total of 61 units. When we zoom in into the layout itself, right, we look at the study area. Over here, we can potentially extend the space out, right, to make it into an extremely huge master room, or we can even consider putting a walk-in wardrobe over here as well. So in terms of the PSF estimation, right, because it's on the smaller end of the unit type, right, we are expecting it to be around 2002 PSF. Okay, with the estimation, we are looking at a quantum of about 1.13 million.
Yeah, so I think one thing we want to point out is that usually the 1 bedroom plus the study usually quite standardized the layout. It's either here or in between the living room area. But I think what is unique about this 1 bedroom is that it doesn't come with a balcony.
Okay.
So this layout for all 4 types, right, there is no balcony for the 1 bedroom. So in terms of that, I think it's really efficient living. Yeah, the developer provide all its living space.
Correct, because you're not paying for the extra balcony area, which is usually not usable. Okay, so in terms of the rental yield wise, right, because as an investor, we usually look at this. For 1 bedder and 2 bedder, usually we'll take a look at the rental yield. Okay, so we'll compare actually Treasure at Tampines. Okay, the average rental over there is looking at about $6 per square feet. So we multiply it by the size of the unit itself of 506 square feet, right? We are looking at, it's safe to assume that we can actually fetch about $3,000 of rental. So with an estimated purchase price, right, we make it slightly higher of about 1.2 million. We are looking at about rental yield of 3%.
Yeah,
which is still considered quite decent.
Correct. I think this is conservative numbers Not to mention that Treasure is not integrated, not next to the MRT.
Correct.
Yeah, and then this project Parktown will be integrated.
And will be newer as well at the point in time.
Correct.
So let's move on to the 2-bed 1-bath analysis. Okay, for the 2-bed 1-bath, we are looking at the compact basically. Okay, so there's 3 different types. B1, B2 and B3. Okay, all of it is actually the same size, 592 square feet. Okay, where some of course is outward facing, some is inward facing Okay, so for these 3 types of layout, right, I'd like to point out is that all of it is the more popular dumbbell layout. Okay, so I think the only difference here will be at type B3, whereby at your entrance area, right, the kitchen where you enter into the unit, it's a slightly slanted kind of wall. It's not fully straight. Okay, one thing to take note is that there's actually no windows in the toilet area. Okay,
for all types for
all the unit types
Correct.
Okay, but of course, usually people that are looking into a 2-bedroom compact, usually they are investors, and this shouldn't be much of a concern for them as well. Okay, so using an estimation of 2002 PSF to 2006, we are getting a price range of between 1.3 million to 1.54 million. Okay, which comparing it to just now our 1-bedder, right, is about 100k to 200k more for an extra bedroom.
Yes.
Okay, so we just have to justify whether it makes sense. To us, I think it kind of makes sense. We are not really paying for just one extra study. We are actually paying for one extra proper bedroom. Okay, so for the 2-bed 1-bath, right, we also want to look at the rental yield because, like I say, people that are buying into this, right, they are usually investors. Okay, so we take a look at Treasure at Tampines again as a guide. Okay, the average rental that Treasure at Tampines can fetch, right, for a 2-bedder is at $3,300 to $3,008. That's the maximum Okay, so we are using about $3,005 as a safe guideline. For the purchase price, right, we'll be using a PSF of 2003. Which will get us a purchase price of 1.36 million. So rental yield wise, right, again, is gonna be at 3%. Okay, so rental yield wise, right, compared to a 1 bed plus study, it's gonna be in fact almost the same lah. Okay, in fact the same, but down payment wise, we have to take note that for 2-bedder we have to fork out a little bit more. But what we want to consider is in terms of when we want to exit in the future, whether it makes sense to go for 2-bedder or 1-bedder plus study.
I think 2-bedroom is easier to sell in the resale market lah, compared to a 1-bedroom.
So in between these two, right, even though we have to slightly fork out a little bit more, I think it will still make sense as an investor to go for this 2-bedder, because in future, you won't find it so difficult to sell as well. So now let's go into the 2-bed, 2-bath analysis, which is what we call the 2-bedroom premium. So we have to take note there's actually in total 5 of this kind of layouts. We have your type BP1 all the way to type BP5. BP5 is your slightly bigger 2-bedroom premium. We just compare these 4 layouts first, which is of the same size. And we want to note that all of it is actually your dumbbell layout, which is your more popular kind of layout. In the middle, we have BP2 and BP3, which your kitchen can actually be enclosed. But one downside for this layout is that your bathroom, right, is actually facing your dining area, which if you ask me for myself, I wouldn't want that for my own place lah. So we thought of a way to actually counter this, which is actually to enclose your common bathroom, because currently we see that it's actually a Jack and Jill kind of concept. So by enclosing the side that is facing to your dining, right, you actually get sort of 2 master rooms,
2 ensuites,
2 ensuite bathroom as well.
So the other 2 layout a bit difficult to enclose because of the DB cabinet lah.
Correct.
Could be still possible, but I think it will just face difficulty. Not sure if it's possible even also.
Correct. So for BP1, right, we are seeing that it doesn't open directly into your dining. But for BP4, right, is the one that also your bathroom opens into the kitchen as well. So we have to take note that the inward facing for the units over here, they are actually of more premium as well. So for the last bedroom type, your type BP5, the size is 721 square feet. We have the more traditional kind of layout, whereby your bedrooms are actually tucked in the corner. And also one good thing is that your kitchen is tucked at the side as well, and is most importantly enclosable as well. We also have the dedicated dining space, right, that doesn't face the bathroom. Now we want to move on to the 2-bedroom premium plus study. Okay, so the 2-bedroom premium plus study, we have a total of 2 types of layout, and also is a dumbbell layout as well. Right, we also see that the kitchen itself is enclosable. But one thing to take note is that we do not have windows in the toilet, as well as in the kitchen as well lah. The difference between these 2 layouts, right, is quite minor. It's going to be the DB box placement. It's just where the DB box is placed. Other than that, the layout is quite similar, right? So in terms of the PSF, right, we are estimating it to be between 2002 to 2006. And quantum wise, we are looking at about 1.68 to 1.98 million. Right, but of course, if let's say the prices were to come up to 1.98 million, it's gonna be quite close to the RCR pricing.
Alright.
Then at that point in time, maybe we want to take a step back and reconsider our options as well. Now let's come to the 2-bedroom recommendations, okay, whereby we'll rank which unit type is actually the best. For the 2-bed, 2-bath, right, it's gonna be our top choice, the BP1, because as compared to the 2-bed, 1-bath, right, we feel that having an extra bathroom is gonna help us to exit better in the future as well, right? Because you know, if let's say you are buying for own stay, you know, you wouldn't young couple and all that, you wouldn't want maybe your when people are visiting to actually share your bathroom. So in terms of resale market in the future, we feel that 2-bed, 2-bath is easier to exit in the future because of that point alone, right? Followed by, of course, your next choice, right, will be your 2-bed, 1-bath. The reason why we rank this number 2, right, is because in terms of your investment wise, right, we are likely expecting this to be the one that is lowest in quantum, just because of the size. So because the quantum is lower, right, likelihood of it having a better rental yield, right, compared to the 2-bed, 2-bath is higher.
So this is like the investor's choice lah.
Investor's choice will definitely advise you guys to go for type B1. Then as for type BP5, right, it's gonna be our top choice, right, because as compared to the 2-bed, 2-bath, right, we feel that it's not so efficient Okay, and we feel that there's a lot of wasted space, right, in terms of the walkway where we go into the unit itself. And quantum wise, right, when we look at 6, 7, 8 square feet, right, it will be actually, well, we will be actually be paying about 100k more lah.
Compared to this 721 square feet.
Compared to this 721 square feet. Let's say we were to go for this 721, we'll pay 100k more for a longer foyer walkway. Which I think, in this case, it wouldn't make so much of a sense lah.
Unless you like the conventional kind of layout.
Correct. So for BPS one, it's gonna be our last choice because at 1.98 million, we feel that it's gonna be very close to a 3-bedder pricing already. And you're gonna pay 100k more for an extra study space, which we think that
may not be too worth it lah.
Correct, because it's not a proper bedroom.
Correct.
Okay. And for rental wise, right, it's best that we buy the cheapest, which is your Type B one.
Investor's choice.
Correct. So now let's move on to the 3-bedroom analysis. Okay. For 3-bedroom, right, the first type we are looking at is your Type C1 and also your C2. Okay, so these two difference is only about 10 square feet difference in size.
Not much difference.
Not much difference. For the Type C1, we are looking at a dumbbell layout, whereby your bedroom 2, right, is actually tucked to one side. To note that there isn't any windows in the kitchen and also no windows in the toilet as well, right? The Type C2, right, we are looking at a more traditional kind of layout. It has windows in the kitchen, okay, which means that we can have your gas stove lah, okay, and it also has window in the toilet as well. Okay, so I think this is very important in terms of having a 3-bedder, right? It's advisable to go for a layout that has the windows in both your kitchen as well as in the toilet, because for resale buyer, that is what they're going to be looking at as well. Okay, we are using an estimate of 2,002 per square feet. Okay, so we are actually paying for about 22k more for 10 square feet more of space, and also for more traditional layout, as well as the windows in the kitchen and toilet.
So I think I want to point out that windows are very, very important for the 3-bedroom type. So I think it makes sense, for me personally, it makes sense to actually pay the premium pricing in terms of the difference.
Correct, because just 20k more.
Correct.
So we move on to the other 3 types of 3-bedder. Okay, all of it, right, we are looking at the same size, 947 square feet. Okay, and all the kitchen and toilets, right, they have the windows also, right, and the difference is only in the foyer walkway itself. Okay, we actually have highlighted this part lah. So using a PSF of 2050, because now we are moving towards the bigger size already.
Correct.
We use a slightly lower PSF. Okay, 2050 will end up with about 1.94 million, and up to a range of 2004 PSF will end up at about 2.27 million. So I think if let's say we can get a unit at about within a 2 million range for this kind of unit type, I think is still quite a good purchase. Okay, now let's move on to the 3-bedroom premium. So what's so premium about this, right, is that we have an additional household shelter, okay, which is your bomb shelter lah, as well as we have an additional yard at the kitchen area, as well as additional WC. The size wise, right, we are looking at 1066 square feet. Okay, all of these they have the same size, but we want to point out for CP3, right, the third one, it has actually more privacy. Okay, because when you open up the door, right, coming from the main entrance, you do not directly open into the unit.
The other 3 units sort of face the living room.
Correct, when you open up. Of course, for type CP4, right, when you open up the entrance, you do not actually face...
not direct.
Half of it. Maybe you see half of it. Right, so the most privacy will actually come from type CP3. Okay, and at 2050 PSF, right, we are looking at 2.18 million for a 3-bedroom premium with 1066 square feet of size, which we feel that is still very decently priced. If let's say you get at this kind of pricing. So let's move on to the other types of 3-bedroom premium. Same thing, we have CP5 and CP6, right? Both at 1066 square feet, but we have one CP7 at 10 square feet more, 107 square feet. Okay, so for CP5 and CP6, right, we note that it has privacy. Same thing for CP7 as well. All of this actually has privacy. When you open up the unit, right, we see that we do not look directly into the living room. Okay, so actually the extra 10 square feet of space, right, for this CP7, right, we are actually looking at a longer type of foyer, a L-shaped kind of foyer. So personally I feel that paying for the extra 20 to 30k for this extra longer walkway, right, I think maybe it doesn't really make that much of a sense as compared to previous examples.
So in total, just to clarify, there are a total of 7 types for the 3-bedroom premium.
Right. That's a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot for this project.
So for this 3-bedroom premium plus study, right, we are looking at 1163 square feet of space. Okay, we want to take note for the study, right, it's actually right beside your master room. I think it's quite advantageous because you can actually turn this into a walk-in wardrobe kind of concept. Okay, without breaking the walls lah. Okay, so comparing these two layouts, right, we see that for CPS2, okay, we have a slightly longer walkway, okay, as compared to CPS1. That means that your CPS2 actually has more privacy as compared to CPS1. Because for CPS1, if you see from a certain angle, I think you can
still see a little bit of the
living room area. Now we take a look at the other 3-bedroom premium plus study layouts. Okay, we have one which is 1173 square feet, and then the other two which is 1184 square feet. So the key difference, right, is actually coming from again the foyer walkway for the type CPS4. Okay, we have a longer walkway lah. So again, does it make sense for us to actually be paying 20 to 30k more, right, just for that extra longer walkway, which I feel the space is not, say, very usable and very efficient use of space.
It's just basically a longer foyer line.
For more privacy.
Correct,
or maybe to put your shoes and all that. But to pay that 20-30 more, maybe we don't really need that. Okay. In terms of the 3-bedroom, right, we also have some recommendations. So we will want to rank type C5, which is the 947 square feet, okay, to be the number 1 choice, right, followed by your CP5, the 3-bedroom premium, which comes with the additional home shelter, your service yard, as well as your WC. And then lastly, we will be ranking the 3-bedroom premium plus study. So when we take a look at the difference, right, we see that the price difference between a 3-bedder, a normal 3-bedder, as compared to a 3-bedroom premium, which comes with the home shelter, the yard, and the WC. The difference we are looking at actually about 240,000. So do you think, in your opinion, it makes sense to be paying for this extra home shelter, yard, and WC?
For me, I think it's very personal to individual.
Correct.
But for me personally, I would prefer the 1066 square feet. Like for me, I think the yard and the bomb shelter makes sense for me personally. But then again, the quantum is quite high lah. I think yes, correct. 240,000 difference. So that's why we still stick to our top choice of the 947 square feet.
Alright, I think it depends. If let's say on launch day we see that the difference is not a lot, I think it makes sense to go and consider a 3-bedroom premium unit coming with a home shelter. Definitely, I think for this kind of unit type, usually people are buying for their own stay.
Correct. And upgrading from HDB lah.
Correct. Yeah. And most people, because of upgrading from HDB, they will be coming from bomb shelter. They will still need a home shelter as well. Okay. So let's compare between CP5, the 3-bedroom premium, as compared to the 3-bedroom premium plus study. Right. So the difference over here, right, we are looking at 200k of a difference.
Mainly a study only.
Correct.
Yeah, just for the study.
For study, I think maybe not so worthwhile. Yeah, and at that point in time, if let's say 200k you are paying for additional room, a proper bedroom, then maybe it will make sense.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the 4-bedroom analysis, we have a total of 4 layouts here for the type. Type D1 and D2, right, is 1335 square feet. Now, if you take a look, right, the key difference is actually the foyer. So I think what we feel for this project is mainly the foyer difference lah. So for this, right, yes, the difference is only the foyer, but the exact same size. Then if you're looking at price range wise, if we take 2000 PSF to 2006 PSF range, you're looking at about 2.67 million to up to 3.471 million.
So comparing between these two, right, I feel that personally, in terms of your type D2, right, you actually have more privacy as well. But later on, we will see there's even more privacy for the different types of 4-bedder.
So for the other two types, you have type D3 at 1345 square feet and D4 at 1356 square feet. So the key difference here is the privacy. for the foyer area. And one thing to point out for the D4, which is quite unique, right, is that you actually have once you enter into your master, you have a walkway. Then you actually have your walk-in wardrobe right next to your master bath.
Very unique. I think this is one of the
we don't see in a lot of projects.
Correct.
Right. So I think this creates convenience that if your clothes are right next to the bathroom, then that's where you can change clothes after you come out of the shower and everything.
And your master becomes the living space whereby your bed is, right? It becomes bigger as well also.
Oh yes, correct. So for the price range wise, quoting based on 2000 to 2006 PSF, you're looking at 2.712 million all the way up to 3.525 million. So there are two types for the 4-bedroom premium, both quite huge, I would say, like 1485 square feet and 1496 square feet. Considering this is a harmonized project as well also. So the only key difference here, again, just the foyer only actually. Don't see much difference. Yeah, not much difference actually for these two.
I think just for maybe just to touch between these two, then privacy wise definitely is type D P2 lah.
Correct.
Because when you enter, you should always see a wall. The other one you still maybe see slightly of the living room itself.
So for price range, same 2000 PSF to 2006 PSF. You're looking at 297 million to 3889 million. So the quantum really does go up a little bit because of the size.
Alright.
So now for the 4-bedroom recommendations, right? We'll be giving our top choice as D1, which is the 1335 square feet. So using this as a difference, right, in comparison to your DP1 of 1485 square feet, we're using 2004 PSF as a guide lah. So the difference, right, will add up to 3.2 million and 3.56 million, a difference of 360,000. And the main key difference here, I believe, is only the foyer area.
300 plus thousand for bigger foyer.
Bigger foyer. Not much other differences in between these both lah. So I think that's why we give the top choices. It makes sense to go for type D1. And lastly, we'll head to the 5-bedroom premium layout. So in terms of the 5-bedroom premium, there's only one type E1, 1679 square feet. Basically, it's a pretty standard layout, I would say. Just take note that this 5-bedroom premium doesn't come with a private lift. Then again, I believe in Tampines, not many are actually looking for a private lift for the 5-bedroom. In terms of the Tampines area, the supply is not very high. Quite rare to find a 5-bedroom. And then if you're using a guide of 2000 PSF to 2004 PSF, you're looking at 3.58 million, all the way up to about 4 million.
With that, we have come to the end of our analysis.
So do take note, the preview for this project will be starting this Friday on the 7th of February, all the way up to 17th February. So if you guys like to take a look at the show flat, do reach out to us.